Our gospel reading for this morning is a continuation of the words of Jesus, which we heard last week. And Jesus is continuing to turn our world upside down. He's talking about loving enemies and turning the other cheek and all those kind of things which quite honestly go against our natural human instincts and reaction. But this is not a pietistic formula either on how we should behave. Rather, this is our loving Jesus inviting those who listen to him to love like him. Let us stand for the reading of the Holy Gospel. Our Gospel this morning is recorded by the Apostle Luke, beginning in the 6th chapter, the 27th verse. But to you, Jesus says, but to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. It's quite a list, isn't it? If someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them. Give to everyone who asks you, and if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who are good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do that. And if you lend to those from whom you expect repayment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners, expecting to be repaid in full, but love your enemies. Do good to them. Lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, because he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured unto you. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Let's together speak our faith with the Apostles' Creed.
I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died, and was buried. He descended into hell. The third day he rose again from the dead. He ascended into heaven and sits at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From thence he will come to judge the living and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Christian Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen.
You may be seated, friends. I want to tell you about a family that was all twisted up. 10 brothers held a terrible secret together. Actually, they were half-brothers. Their dad had 2 wives at the same time. They were sisters. And then dad had more children also with the servant girls of these 2 women. The 10 half-brothers sold the 11th into slavery. And then for a cover, they told their dad and the 12th, the youngest, they told him that a beast has ripped your son to shreds. He's dead. And they presented the bloody robe. Now, I realize that every family at times feels like they have issues, right? But have you ever heard of a family with 5 parents under the same roof? A brother sold to slavery? and telling Pop he's dead. Well, if you don't recognize the family, it's actually our spiritual ancestors. The brothers said Joseph had it coming, Daddy's favorite. And so he was given this beautiful robe. And then Joseph always rubbing it in, bragging about his dreams. I saw 11 stars, oh, like you, my 11 brothers, shining in the firmament. And there was the moon, mother, my mother, by the way. And like the sun, our dad. And then they all bowed down to me. What? The kid was already 17 years old. Didn't he know when to shut up already? So he had it coming. 22 years later, their father was so still racked with grief that he was on the edge of his grave. The only thing that was keeping old Jacob Israel alive was his love for son number 12, little Benjamin. Him the only one who was also born from his favorite wife, Rachel, just like Joseph. So you got this family. 10 brothers, 22 years carrying this terrible secret, all twisted together. And then they were sure that God was out to get them. Famine struck. The family was starving. Only in Egypt, across that whole world they knew, only in Egypt was there any bread to buy. So Jacob Israel sent the 10 big half-brothers to buy, and when the Pharaoh saw them coming, the Pharaoh's right-hand man, the man in charge of the breads, insisted on interviewing them. Learned their whole story and said, here's your bread, never come back without your little brother. So they ran with their provisions and were glad they were out of there. Until the next year, when again, famine. And they had to tell old Jacob Israel, we can't get bread unless we bring Ben. What are they going to do, die? Finally, the old man had to let go. And again, Egypt summoned the 11 to the throne, which is where today's story starts. We see the Pharaoh's right-hand man again saying, I am Joseph. Is my father, is old Jacob Israel, still living? But his brothers were not able to answer. They were terrified at Joseph's presence. Oh, the joys of family. I am very blessed this week. This is my cousin from Milwaukee. Mark came to see me. It's been more than 3 years, and he is married. So we've had so much fun this week, remembering the old family stories. Lots of laughs. But family memories are not always happy, are they? 22 years. Saddled with their secret guilt, their bad conscience burdened, always fearing that God's hammer will fall. They broke the family. They got rid of their brother, and now speechless they stand terrified in the presence of Pharaoh's right-hand man, Joseph. Can you see the story of you and your brother? Come close to me, says Joseph. And then he says, I am your brother. Yes, Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. Put yourself in Joseph's royal slippers. He's got his brother's lives at last in his hand. And there he is again, in the regal robe, even better than what Pop gave him. There he is, his father's favorite, the Pharaoh so blessing him. And this vision, every knee will bow. And he does not ignore their guilt. You sold me, he says clearly. And yet even before we see who he is, here he is unmasking himself. He joyfully invites us, come close to me. I am your brother. I am Jesus. Come. Yes, I, the one that you sold to death. Now don't be distressed and don't be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me. See, Joseph knows. How did it happen that he got into Egypt? Who sent him? God. He's going to say it 3 times. Wait for it. God sent me here ahead of you. It's Jesus wanting you to see that your guilt has gone to him. It's not just that you stung some stranger or got your family all twisted up. Selfish and vicious, you sold out the Father's beloved Son. That's what sin is. You nailed the Prince. Jesus wants you to see that God grasped your evil with the nail-pierced hand of his Son, Jesus, and he turned it to good. Don't be distressed. Don't be angry with yourselves. God sent Jesus to save the lives. You know, I'm quite sure I'm not making this up, because in Joseph, Jesus saw himself. We know John 3:16, God so loved the world that he gave his Son. And then the next verse, listen. God sent his Son to the world. And not to condemn the world, but to save the world through the Son. You see, there is no evil that can stop God's plan. God sends the brother we need, because without him, all the nations are going to starve. Joseph says, for 2 years now, the famine in the land. And next 5 years, there will be no plowing or reaping. But God sent me, second time, God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, to save your lives by a great deliverance. See, God so loved the world, but it wasn't just for the world, it was for you, Joseph insists. Now, this does not directly apply to most of us, because frankly, I don't think many of us here have that bloodline where we're part of Joseph's family. Anybody here Jewish? A little bit in our blood, perhaps. And yet what we see here is God made that promise to Abraham and to his son Isaac and to his Abraham's grandson, this Jacob Israel. He made this promise that it will be through you, through your great-great-grandson, King David himself, through her great-great-great-granddaughter, the awesome maiden Mary. He'll come. The one who saves by a great deliverance. He'll come. Oops. The one promised for us. See, the deal is, if God's going to keep his promise to Abraham, Isaac, Israel, he will keep his promise directly that way to us all. And so Joseph says, it was not that you sent me here, but God. Third time, right? God sent me. God made me. Here we go. Father to Pharaoh, Lord to his entire household, ruler of all Egypt. this reality. Those are kind of funny phrases. Father to Pharaoh. I mean, it wasn't literally a father to Pharaoh. So the scholars kind of dig around at this stuff, and they say it's got to mean like an advisor, one whose advice is so trusted it's like you're listening to your dad. And then they find out that these three terms, father to Pharaoh, lord of his house, ruler over Egypt, these in fact are not from the Hebrew culture. These are ancient Egyptian terms. Kinds of thing you'd see on the pictographs on the pyramids. Joseph wants his brothers to know, I am the authority here. God sent me to rule even this pagan reality. Fear not, my brothers. How often does your brother tell you the same? Fear not. I see those enemies that terrify you. They are under my authority. And so Jesus' words are so beautiful. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Do to others as you would have them do to you, the golden rule. Give to everyone who asks you. Be merciful, just as your Papa in heaven is merciful. And Lord, I'd love to live so open-hearted. I wish I could be so generous, but I am afraid. What if they take advantage of me? What if I've got nothing more to give? And Jesus says, fear not. I'm commanding you what you should do, but I know you're going to blow it. It's more than a command. I am promising you, says Jesus, this is what I will do. I will love you, even though you act like my enemy. I will do for you. I will give to you all the way, even myself. The merciful Son of the Father, it is me, says Jesus. I will set your heart free. So it's more than 5 years since my dad passed, but some of you here still remember that my dad was really quite a comic. And his humor he learned from his two big brothers. I remember back in 1976, the last time I saw Mark's dad, Robert, who, like my cousin, was a guy I always looked up to. He was bigger than me and just a huge, charismatic, powerful presence. He was a union boss, you know. You wanted this guy for your boss. He could walk into the meeting with that executive and he'd go, okay, everybody gets a raise, you know. He was just like that kind of a, wow, you know. So we were going to see Robert, and you'd never know by looking at him. He still had all of that going. But we knew that inside the cancers were multiplying. So these two comical brothers, Robert and Jim, you know, welcome us with the family, and we're all sitting there and talking, and we noticed that there's a big basket of peaches between the two recliners where these brothers are sitting. And they're eating away. Hey, you want one? And they've got pocket knives, both of them, and they're carefully, you know, cutting around the peach and cracking it open and going into the pit and popping part of the pit into their mouth and throwing away the flesh of the peach. What are you guys doing? And Jim says, you heard of Laetrile? Well, see, that was like going to be the miracle cure for cancer back in the 70s. He said, the Laetrile is sold out all across Milwaukee. And Robert says, yeah, but the compound is here pure in the pit of the peach and the apricot. So there they are, kind of chewing away and softening it up. Well, finally my dad says to Jim, the middle brother, so Jim, why are you eating the peach pit? And Jim swallows and he laughs and he puts his hands on his brother and he says, because he's my brother. Hey, Earl, you want one? What would your brother swallow to make you whole? You see what Jesus did? And he gets the job done. And Joseph kissed all his brothers, and he wept over them, it says. And then his brothers, their hearts finally set free after 22 years. Finally, his brothers could talk to him. So as soon as my cousin got out of his car a few days, car, I never remember. It's a little fight. Car. As soon as he got out of his car, he threw his arms around me, he had me in this big hug he would not let go. And I knew right away that either in Milwaukee it is very, very cold, or he was bringing me a lot of love from a lot of generations. Imagine this. The hug that your big brother is eager to give to you. The risen one, the Prince of Life everlasting, already now he's got you in his grave. Oh, Jesus, it is God who sent you to save lives, to make the deliverance promised Israel come true. God sent you to rule over our reality. So, Lord, let us rejoice in you and send us out as little Josephs, as little Christ, as real Christians, receiving that love from you to share it with those who are starving around us. In your name we pray. Amen. Lord, bless and keep you, friends. You too, rejoice in your Joseph. Amen.